I was in the middle of folding a quilt when my phone buzzed on the kitchen counter. I almost didn't check it. I was at the lake house, my place, the one I bought with my own money 31 years ago when the market was soft and my ex-husband thought I was being impulsive. And I had been deliberately leaving my phone face down all weekend. The trees were starting to turn. The birches along the water had gone yellow overnight. That sharp, clean yellow you only get in October in Ontario. And I had been trying to just look at them without documenting anything. But the buzz was followed by another buzz, and then a third. My daughter-in-law's name was on the screen. I set down the quilt and picked it up. "Hi, Loretta. Just wanted to let you know we've decided to do Christmas dinner at your place this year. Already told the whole family it's happening there. So exciting. Nathan said you'd be fine with it. 36 people. Deck 25. We'll handle the guest list. You just need to handle the food and the house." So fun. I read it twice. Not because I didn't understand it. I understood it perfectly. I read it twice because I was deciding, very deliberately, what kind of woman I was going to be in the next 30 seconds. I typed back, "That's news to me. I'll be in Sudbury visiting my sister through Boxing Day. You'll want to find a new venue." Then I put the phone face down again and went back to the quilt. I want to be clear that I did not feel calm. My hands were doing a small, tight tremble the way they do when I'm working hard to keep something contained. But I had learned, over 63 years and 1 marriage and 2 children, and the complete dismantling and rebuilding of my own life, that the moment you respond to hysteria with hysteria, you have already lost. Whatever game is being played, you have already handed over your pieces. So I breathed. I looked at the birches. And I thought about how I had gotten here. My son Nathan is 41 years old. He is smart the way some people are smart. Quick, confident, excellent at reading a room. And he has always known exactly what to say to make a situation feel like it was moving in the direction he wanted. When he was 9, he convinced his teacher that he had already done the assignment and simply left it at home. And she believed him long enough that the term ended before she circled back. He did not do the assignment. He never did the assignment. But nothing came of it. And I think that was the beginning of something. He married Petra. And I want to be fair here, because Petra is not a villain in the way we sometimes make daughters-in-law into villains. She is simply a woman who found a man who agrees with her about everything. And the two of them have formed a very tidy system where their desires become facts and everyone else is expected to arrange themselves accordingly. They have 2 boys, 9 and 6. I love those boys more than I know how to say. For the last 4 years, they have lived about 20 minutes from me, in the house Nathan and I bought together. And I mean that literally, together, because I put in $85,000 of the down payment when the market spiked and they were short, and the understanding, the spoken understanding, was that they would pay me back over time. We did not put this in writing. That is a thing I will come back to. I have my own place. A small house in Barrie, near enough to my sister that we can have lunch without either of us driving more than 12 minutes. I bought it outright 4 years ago when I sold the property I had held since my divorce, and it is mine in the particular, uncomplicated way that things become yours when no one else is on the title. The lake house is a different matter. I inherited it from my mother in 2019. She bought it in the 70s, before anyone thought of that part of Lake Huron as desirable, and it sat there for 50 years accumulating value until it was worth considerably more than she ever intended it to be. She put it in a family trust before she died. Her lawyer's idea, not mine, with terms that made it impossible to sell without the agreement of all 3 of her children, and after my brother and I bought out our sister, the trust was amended to reflect that I was the sole beneficiary of record with the property held for the benefit of my grandchildren upon my death. I am telling you this now because it matters. It matters in a way that will become clear. The first call came an hour after I sent the text. It was Nathan. "Mom, I don't understand why you're being difficult about this." That word, difficult. I have been called difficult in this precise tone by men, and I include my former husband in this. Approximately every time I have declined to do something they had already decided I would do. It is a word that means, I had a plan, and you are not cooperating with the plan, and my plan was the important thing here. I'm not being difficult, I said. I'm being accurate. I have plans for Christmas. You should have asked before you told 36 people. It's 37 now. Gord's sister is coming. I let that sit for a moment. Nathan, do you hear what you're doing right now? I just thought it would be nice, he said, and his voice shifted into something softer, something I recognized from when he was small and had broken something and was calibrating how much trouble he was in. The boys want to spend Christmas at the lake house. They've been talking about it all fall. The boys can spend time at the lake house whenever I invite them. That's not the issue. Then, what's the issue? The issue is that you made a decision about my house and my time without asking me. And then you're calling me difficult for having an existing life. He went quiet for a moment. Then, Petra just wanted to do something special. I know, I said. But special things require the cooperation of the people they involve. I'll talk to you when I'm back in Barrie. I hung up. The birches were still yellow. The lake was doing that flat, silver thing it does in the afternoon when the light goes low. I made myself a tea, sat on the porch, and waited. It did not take long. My sister-in-law, Nathan's aunt on his father's side, a woman named Gwen, who I have known for 39 years, and who has never once called me to ask how I am, but will call me to deliver information, called at 6 in the evening. I heard there might not be a Christmas dinner, she said. There will absolutely be a Christmas dinner, I said. Just not one. I'm catering for 38 people. 37, she said. Sorry, 37. Loretta. Her voice had that particular weight that people use when they want to convey that they are concerned without actually being concerned. Nathan says you've been. He said you've seemed scattered lately. He worries about you out there at the lake. I set my cup down very carefully. Does he? I said. I'm sure it's nothing. But you know, rattling around in that big place alone, it might be good to have family around you. Have people in the house. I understood then what was happening. It was not subtle. It was also not new. I had watched my own mother navigate a version of this in her last years. The gentle, persistent suggestion that her preferences were symptoms, that her choices were evidence of decline, that the proper response to her autonomy was concern. I had watched her shrink under it. I had promised myself I wouldn't. Gwen, I said, I appreciate you calling. I'm going to go now. We're just worried. I heard you, I said. Goodbye. That night I called my daughter. She lives in Halifax. She has 2 daughters of her own and a partner who coaches high school hockey, and she is, in most respects, the saner of my 2 children, which is not a thing I say with any pride, because no parent should have to rank their children by sanity. But here we are. Tell me what's happening, she said, before I even finished the opening sentence. I told her. All of it. The text, the calls, Gwen, the scattered comment. There was a silence on her end that had a specific quality to it. The quality of someone who has been waiting for something to arrive and has now watched it arrive. Mom, she said. Did Nathan ask you recently about the lake house? I paused. He mentioned it at Thanksgiving. Something about the property taxes, whether it made sense to keep it, whether I'd ever thought about, he said, simplifying. He used that word. He called me in September, she said. He asked if I thought you were managing okay. He asked if I'd noticed anything. I told him you seemed completely fine, which you are, and he said, yeah, but she's alone up there a lot, and I said she likes being alone, and that was the end of it. I didn't connect it to anything. She connected it to something now. We both did. He can't do anything, I said. The trust is. It's not mine to give. It goes to the kids when I'm gone. There's nothing to transfer. Does he know that? I thought about it. I'm not sure how much detail he knows. My mother's lawyer is the one who set it all up. I don't think I ever explained the specifics. Maybe it's time to explain the specifics, she said. I drove back to Barrie on the Sunday. I did not rush. I stopped in Midland for lunch, and I sat by the water there for a while, and I thought about all the ways a person can be loved and still be poorly treated by the same people doing the loving, and how those 2 things can coexist without either one canceling the other out. My mother used to say that family is the people who show up. She meant it generously. as a definition of who counts. But I have come to think it also works the other way. Family is visible in who shows up, and also in the texture of how they show up, and those are not always the same. Monday morning, I called my lawyer. Her name is Audra, and she has been my lawyer since I divorced, which means she has seen me at some of my lowest moments, and she has never once looked at me with anything other than complete professional focus, which I have always found deeply steadying. I told her what was happening. She listened without interrupting. "The trust is airtight," she said when I finished. "The property can't be transferred, sold, or encumbered without the approval of the trustee, which is currently you, and upon your death, it passes to your grandchildren. Nathan has no claim on it, no path to a claim on it, and no mechanism by which your capacity or decision-making ability changes that. Could he do anything through? I don't know, through the courts. He could attempt a capacity assessment if he had grounds, which he does not. And even if he somehow obtained one, it would result in a guardian being appointed to protect your interests, not to hand your property to him." She paused. "Loretta, he has no cards here. None. Want to understand the $85,000, I said. "That's a separate matter. Do you have anything in writing?" "No." She made a small sound that communicated many things without saying any of them. "Okay. Do you have bank records showing the transfer?" "Yes. Then we have a basis. It's not ironclad without a written agreement, but it's not nothing either. Would you like to?" "Not yet," I said. "I want to handle this the quiet way first. If the quiet way doesn't work, I'll call you back." Nathan came to my house on the Tuesday. He sat at my kitchen table in his coat, which he did not take off, which means he had not decided whether he was staying or going. Petra was not with him. The boys were at school. He looked tired. I noticed that, and I felt the old, complicated pull of it, the desire to ask if he was sleeping, if he was eating, if there was something underneath all of this that I was missing. That is the thing about loving a person who is doing something wrong. You don't stop seeing them. You just see more of the picture than is comfortable. "I owe you an apology," he said. I waited. Sometimes an apology is the first sentence, and sometimes it is the entire statement, and you have to wait to find out which one you're getting. The way Petra texted you was, she should have called. I should have called. We shouldn't have told people before we talked to you. "No," I said. "You shouldn't have. It's just, the boys have been so excited about the idea of Christmas at the lake, and Petra she gets enthusiastic. She runs ahead." "I know she does," I said. "We just wanted to do something big. Something that felt like the kind of Christmas you used to do when we were kids." And there it was, the thing underneath the thing, the real thing. Because I did used to do that. For 22 years of my marriage, and for several years after it ended, I was the one who made Christmas into something worth remembering. I was the one who drove 4 hours to get the particular shortbread my mother-in-law liked. I was the one who remembered that Nathan's cousin was vegetarian, and that Gwen's youngest had a nut allergy, and that his father needed to feel useful, so I always saved him a task that looked important, but that could be done badly without consequence. I was the architect of 100 small considerations, and the kitchen was my office, and the table was where my work showed. And then I stopped, not because I wanted less Christmas, but because I wanted a different kind. Smaller. Intentional. The kind where I could actually sit at the table instead of hovering beside it. "Nathan," I said, "I'm glad those Christmases were good. I gave them everything I had. But I can't give that to 37 people at age 63 while you plan the guest list, and I provide the labor and the property. Do you understand what I'm saying?" He looked at the table. "Yeah," he said quietly, "I do." "The lake house," I said. "Tell me what you've been thinking." He went still in the particular way people go still when they've been found out and are deciding whether to keep the door closed or open it. I thought maybe, eventually, if it made sense, the property taxes are significant and you have your Barry place, and it might be less to manage if, Nathan. The lake house is in a trust. It goes to your boys when I'm gone. It is not mine to give you, and it is not yours to receive. This is not a future conversation. It's a closed one. He looked up. It's already, Your grandmother set it up before she died. I amended it after I inherited. Your sister knows. I assumed you did. I watched something move across his face. Not anger, something more complicated. The particular recalibration of a person who has been building toward something that was never there. The $85,000, he said, and his voice was quieter now. That's a different conversation, I said. And we'll have it. But not today. He left about an hour later. He took his coat off at some point during our conversation, and I noticed that, and I chose to take it as a small sign of something. I am not naive enough to believe that one conversation fixes a pattern that took years to build. I know my son. I know that he will process this, and that Petra will have opinions, and that there may be a period. There has been before, with smaller things, where calls become less frequent and holiday planning becomes pointed in its absence. I have made my peace with that. Not easily, but genuinely. What I know is this. I am 63 years old. I live in a small house I own outright. I have a lake property that my mother chose, in her wisdom, to protect before any of us knew it would need protecting. I have a daughter who called me the minute I told her what was happening. I have a lawyer who uses the phrase, "no cards here," with a quietness that feels like armor. And I have 2 grandsons who are 9 and 6 and who do not yet know anything about property trusts or family dynamics or the particular calculus of who owes whom what. They just know that their grandmother has a lake house with a canoe and that she makes butter tarts from scratch and that when they visit, she gives them her full attention. That is the inheritance I am protecting. Not the property, the relationship. The one where they will grow up knowing that their grandmother was not a resource to be managed, but a person to be known. Christmas happened, eventually. Smaller than Nathan planned. My daughter flew in from Halifax with her girls and her partner, and we had 12 people at my berry place. And I cooked what I wanted to cook, and nothing I didn't. And my grandsons stayed in the small back room and left their shoes in the hall and ate 3 butter tarts each without asking, and nobody had to negotiate anything. I heard from Gwen through a group text in January. Something cheerful and circling, nothing that acknowledged the fall. I responded with a brief acknowledgement and left it at that. The lake house is rented for the summer. A family from Guelph, 2 adults and 3 kids, who found it through a property management site and who have sent me exactly 1 email asking if the canoe paddles are stored in the shed. They are. I told them so. They said thank you. It is a strange thing to hold. The knowledge that the people you love most are also capable of the thing that hurt you most. I do not have a clean resolution to that. I don't think anyone who is being honest about family has a clean resolution to it. You hold both things. You make your boundaries anyway. You love them with your eyes open instead of your eyes closed. My mother, at the end, used to sit on the porch of that lake house and not say much. I used to think she was with Leung. Now I think she was just watching the water and finding that sufficient. I understand that better now. The October light on Lake Huron, the birches going yellow, the particular silence of a place that has been yours long enough to feel like part of your body. Some things you hold on to, some things you let people think they can have, right up until the moment you quietly show them they never could. I rolled the window down on the drive back from Sudbury in November, even though it was cold. The air smelled like pine and frozen ground, and something I can only describe as the specific smell of the Canadian Shield in late fall. Mineral and clean and utterly indifferent to human drama. I breathed it in. I kept driving. I was fine.